Welcome to another day in this world where ignorance is bliss. Today's video is about some women being taught the truth, so let's jump right into it.
I just think if you truly respect the guy you're with, like you wouldn't want to do anything that would make him look bad. And it makes a guy like as a woman, you want to make your man look good. Like that's your job. And so when you're dressing like a hoe, going out with your hoe friends to the club where they're all hooking up with guys and you're saying, "Oh, they're all doing it, but not me. I promise I won't flirt with anyone, but I'm going to the one place where we're bound to get hit on." It's like you look bad as a girl and you make him look bad.
I mean, you can't argue with that, right? Because once upon a time, it's like with any partnership, right? I make you look good, you make me look good. A girl is looking for a guy that all the other girls want, and that makes her look good, and yet still wants the freedom to act like a 304, act like she belongs to the streets, and yet is completely inconsiderate of the guy's point of view. And that's one of the biggest problems we have now, this inconsideration in relationships. It's all me. And it's like, hey, what that guy is supposed to do with that? Let's continue.
Doesn't want a girl that's just going to be naked all the time and put herself out there available for every man to see. That I don't have to be a man to know that that's not what men want. So then you say men suck, and I ask this question all the time. You complain about men, but are you being the type of a woman that a man would want?
I mean, I've seen a number of videos from Candace Owens, right? And I haven't yet seen one where I would counter or disagree with the stuff that she's saying. Because if you're looking at these women out there, they're completely ignorant and oblivious to what men want. And again, it's that me. It's all them and I want and what I deserve and what I'm a queen and a boss bitch and all that shit. And it's all about what they want. And it's like, what about the guy? And then when guys are not coming, we are the assholes because we're not choosing you. And yet you don't give a shit about what we think, what we want, what we feel.
Women have to understand this. Y'all are hard-headed, and women don't listen. Sometimes.
Very likewise statement.
stop.
Men saying
No,
the hard-headedness.
stop.
I'm just saying that's a very likewise statement.
No, but it does not matter. What I'm trying to say is she had 8 failed relationships. You're not going to sit here and convince me that it was not a safe space and guys don't like to talk. No, they're talking. She's not being receptive, right? Everybody talks in different ways. If you have 8 failed relationships, you don't know how to listen. You do not know how to take direction. And direction is not like, I don't want to put that.
Just have to pause there. It kind of all boils back to the same concept of me with modern women, right? So yeah, there's no listening. I mean, if she doesn't care or give a shit about what you want, what you expect, then why listen? And there's your problem. Let's hear what else he has to say.
Submissive aspect, but taking direction, like maybe, hey, you know what? You need to just do this just this way. So then that way you get further in your life. And guess what? Maybe she doesn't listen in that regard. Hey, if you want for me and you to be better, I need you to do this so then I could give you that. Maybe she's not listening in that regard. But women tend to not listen. The ones that I believe jump from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship is because she doesn't listen to anybody. And as a man, we are supposed to be the provider and we're supposed to be the leader. But if you're not allowing him to lead because you're just not listening, then it's going to cause confrontations, which is eventually nobody's going to want it.
Less
Or her wanting to listen to improve things, as like for her to view you as the leader in the relationship and for her to listen to your expectations and so on, there has to be that somewhat traditional essence to the expectations of each partner in the relationship. But then, with the boss bitches and, I'm independent and I can do my own shit, it's almost like they're going into relationships wanting to prove that they don't need you, wanting to prove that they're independent, wanting to prove that they can stand on their own 2 feet and don't need any kind of support and whatnot. And then for men, we want to be able to provide, we want to be able to protect, to be that leading figure. It's what we're biologically built to be, if you're a normal man under normal circumstances, of course. But then she's fighting you at every turn, whether consciously or subconsciously. It's almost like, are we going into a relationship or a version of World War III? You know. We'll go Candace back. Let's continue.
Less, take off more clothes, do the most to get attention, right? If you think that that's freedom, the idea that you have to wear less, and the idea that you have to get naked to be heard, you really think that's a form of freedom? Because that's not. That's slavery. That's bondage. I didn't have to take off my clothes to be heard in society. And these women will realize that when you follow these people that are, self-imposed feminists, I'm a feminist, I do this, I'm a feminist, you hear that word over and over and over again, you'll find that the majority of them are miserable. Look at their lives and ask yourself a question. Do you think they are happy? Do you feel good when you do what they do?
I mean, you can tell, right? Because they are not happy. They're pissed off about everything. They look at every man as some kind of, oppressor, and they're genuinely unhappy. And, this is why I respect this woman, because she got herself heard. Well, obviously she's not the only one, but she got herself heard based on the subject of her personality and the words that come out of her mouth. You will find most women these days are out there and it's like, see me, hear me. But to get the attention, especially initially, it's here are my tits, here's my ass, see me in my bikinis and all that. And I mean, it's nice to look at. I ain't gonna deny that. So I'm definitely there looking. I would definitely, hit that. But would I take you to my mom? Fuck no. And that's the point she's making. You think men want that? Yes, we want it, but we would never commit to it. We want a decent, civilized woman. Let's go on.
What they do.
Girls with no fathers in the home have lower self-esteem. Okay, fine, that sucks, but also women with low self-esteem are more promiscuous. No father families more likely to be victims of abuse, especially with single mothers. The more opportunities a child has to interact with biological father, the less likely they are to commit a crime or have contact with the juvenile justice system. Okay, another way to say that is men and women who are incarcerated, the population of the prisons mostly encompass fatherless homes. Now, here's something that no one else has mentioned, which I think is cool, and I don't really say this eloquently. If a man and wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same statistical chance as children raised by just their father. So if we want to keep children, adults, out of prison, mother, father, or just father. Well, we don't want to hear just father, so let's try to keep the families intact. I think that just seems better.
I'm sure there were feminists somewhere pulling out their hair, like, what the fuck is she saying? And so on. But I mean, you can't argue against it, right? Statistics speaks for itself. You can't deny the numbers. But it's an interesting thing as well, because you see this mostly in Western society. If you then start looking at traditional African countries, what you find mostly is that in the absence of a father, there tends to be a lot of male figures within the child's life. So you're then looking at uncles, grandfathers, even cousins and the likes. So because our family units are not just husband, wife, kids, they are family, where everyone is involved. And so in the absence of a father, something happens, let's say, an unfortunate scenario, they pass away, not necessarily leave. The wife and the children have an entire family setup that is responsible for compensating or filling in the gaps of the missing father. So yeah, definitely keep the families together. But in this day and age where divorce and splitting is such a common thing, then yeah, I would say definitely the men, because a more logical as opposed to emotional approach to anything always tends to be better. Rarely does emotion sort of, win out on logic.
And I think men are the coolest, but I don't need them to survive.
There we go. I mean, in every modern day conversation, you come across the same concept of I don't need men and we don't need men. And it's such a westernized approach to it all because society has advanced so much, it's given people the perception that men are no longer needed. And yet, all of these people ignore the work that goes behind the scene in order to give them this safe life that they no longer need men for. Yeah, that's.
Everything that you see around you was built and created and maintained by men.
There we go.
Everything. The infrastructure in this country, in every single country in the world, is built, created, and maintained by good, honest, hardworking men that just want to provide for their family. Everything, the roads you drive on, the buildings you live in.
A lot of times, we women do not know how to properly vet men. So it is important for you to kind of reach back into that tradition and be like, daddy needs to look at him, uncle Bo needs to look at him, your brother needs to look at him. Like, is he trifling? Because the thing is that he, first of all, he might know her from the streets, one. And two, he's gonna notice things off the rip that we're not gonna notice, or we may not notice. So I totally agree with you on being able to properly vet. Something else we were not taught.
I don't like.
Oh, yes. This is something that's very. It's a very common argument between, let's say, Western society and traditional African society, where Western women say that the women who are still like in somewhat arranged marriages or have that approach to marriages, or they're forced to marry someone they don't love. It's the way they're not free, they're not happy, and so on. But statistically, women back then were far happier than women now. And even if you still look at marriages there, because it's such family oriented and family involved, men are always going to be better at understanding men than women. And hence, the father is in place, or brothers, uncles, whatever, are in place in order to sit with this man before he marries her and say, you know what, this one is an imbecile. There's no way we are letting him through the gate. And as much as, because the reality of the matter is women are very emotional. And in most cases, a man comes into the room and she's heads over heels, all emotion, and completely disregards every red flag purely because it feels good in the moment. And so when you've got your brothers, your cousins, and so on, they can spot the bullshit. Your father, they spot the bullshit and they call it out. And they will tell you straight up, no, it's not happening. And they do not give their approval. You can hate them for a short while, but in most cases, you find that people come back and they're like, thank you, because you basically saved my life from this imbecile. Sound here?
I'm against makeup. I don't think it's good for women, and I don't think they really need to be using it.
That one's reaction, rolling the eyes.
Makeup is.
She's not happy.
Women's insecurities when it's something that they can easily fix. I think it takes away from a woman's natural beauty, and also, it is so bad for you. Like, you think about how skin absorbs things. When you read the ingredients on a foundation bottle, what is in it? You can't even pronounce it. It's a bunch of crap that you're putting on your face. And that is in turn making your skin worse. So you have to keep buying more foundation to cover up what it's creating.
Okay, so men generally do prefer less makeup. There is no arguing against that. The reality of the matter is natural beauty has an attractiveness. I mean, yeah, obviously, all of these BBLs and whatnot and so on would definitely hit that. No questions asked, depending, of course, on how it looks. But long term, I would take no makeup natural beauty any day. And so would most men. Most people just can't say it anymore these days because cancelled and all this crap. But the reality of the matter is that is the better option. If you like the video, subscribe, like, and let me know what you think down below. Help me grow this channel. Love your support.